I believe it'll work. Now I'm going to put some finish on them. And I'm going to antique them. Alright, I've made this stock. And I've taken different things, a hammer, files, whatever. And I put some little dings in it here and there. Let's see. I don't know if you can see that scratch or not. I've got a pretty good little scratch right there. I've got a ding right there. I've got some skint places right there. I've got a pretty good ding right there. I just smack around on it a little bit. I put a couple little dings right there. Just places that normally would get roughed up. There's a scratch right there. After I scratched it and dinged it and messed it up a little bit, at first I sanded it and made it just like I would any other stock. Took it down to 180 paper because this is an old Winchester. They didn't sand them real smooth back then. And I put some little dings on the forearm as well here. I scuffed it up after I made it. Matter of fact, I got dust all in it. Need to blow that out. Once I got everything made and fitted, I scuffed it up. This one has got a pretty good little ding right here on the bottom of it. It'll show up more after I get done putting some finish on it. I put a little dent right there, and on and on. So this thing looks like it's been fairly taken care of, but not hidden away in a gun vault somewhere. And then after I dinged it, I sanded it again with 220. And now I'm fixing to rub it down with black paint. Just black enamel paint. I'm going to rub it all over it. This is oil base enamel. Regular old El Segundo garden variety black paint. Alright, after I rub it all in there, then I take some paint thinner, a rag with paint thinner, sort of soaked pretty good. I'm going to rub it off. Alright, those little places where I scratched it and dinged it, that black paint is staying in there. In those grooves I cut into it with the lathe, those are not sanded near as well as the rest of it, and so they're staying in there too. Now I'm going to dry that. Just dry it off with a dry rag. See that scratch right there? There's just little scuff marks on it, just like it would get if it had been used for the last 100 years. And you can put as many of those dings as you want to make them as old looking as you want to. Alright, now once that's dried, I'll stain that with some red mahogany stain. First I'm going to put black paint all over this stock. I had a guy bring me a gun one time that he said it was over 100 years old. I'm not sure whether it was or not, but it had been in an accident and it had killed some relative of his, so he didn't want it to ever shoot again. But the stock was broken. After it had killed this man, someone reached over and got that shotgun and wrapped it around a tree. So for 4 or 5 generations, this stock had had friction tape around the grip and maybe a piece of barbed wire. Well, when he inherited it, he wanted it to look old, but he didn't want it to be broken, and he didn't want to shoot it again. He just wanted to hang it up. So he asked me if I could make it look old. I said, how old do you want it to look? He said, can you make it look 100 years old? I said, every day of it. And I scuffed it up, and I think I put it out in the driveway and stomped on it and put some gravel marks in it. You don't want anything rhythmic. You don't want anything that can be patterned. I've seen people take chains and beat them. That just looks too hokey. Looks like it's made in China. But you can get creative and drag them around on barbed wire and everything else. You can make them look old. I had a gun dealer come in after I had finished that shotgun. It was drying, and he thought I had refinished the original. He thought that was the 100-year-old stock. When I told him what I did, he was amazed. I did everything but carve somebody's initials in it. All right. I'll put some stain on it and see what it looks like. This stain is so old, it's just turned into gel. But it's still the same color. This is red mahogany Minwax. Now when that dries, I'll come back and start rubbing some permalin on there. I'll rub this in with my hands. It gives it a duller finish when you finish it with your hands. All right, I put the first coat on with a brush because I didn't want to rub it with my hands, because before that I put on stain and black paint. And if you rub that with your hands, you smear it. It loosens up that stain. Even if you wait a day or two, the finish will loosen that stain, and it'll streak it when you go to rubbing with your hands. You rub so hard, it'll put streak marks in it. So I put the first coat on with a brush, just a little artist brush about 3/4 of an inch wide. And that was I don't know, a day and a half ago. And now I'm going over it with some, this is Scotch-Brite, it's the gray stuff instead of the red. This is finer than the red. And it's coarser than the green. You can get this Scotch-Brite at paint stores. But it works better than steel wool. Steel wool leaves a lot of little hairs. You can't ever get all the little hairs out of it. Those little wool shavings. So on my first coat, I'll use either 320 or this Scotch-Brite. Ain't that cute? Just put it, get some saturated on your finger. Just put it on there and just start rubbing it. Rub it long, rub it in ovals, rub it in circles, however you want to rub it on there. Just rub it in real good. The heat from your hand kind of helps this stuff set up. It doesn't stay liquid long when you're rubbing it like this. Now you're going to use the heel of your hand. Put it on with your fingers, but you use the heel to smooth it out. It starts getting a little tacky. which is about now. See the heel of my hand just dragging that? If you let it get too tacky, it'll show streaks. Now, I don't know how much I'm going to edit this, but what I just did is in real time. That puts on a good finish for an old gun like this. For an older gun, it gives it that look of realism. So I don't know how to explain it. It just looks old. And I will put that on there 3 or 4 coats. Now this little forearm is going to be tough to do because those little grooves, all those little grooves want to hold the finish in there. And you just have to, and it'll run. If you're not careful, it'll stay in there, and then when you turn it up in one certain way, it'll try to run from those little grooves where it's being puddled up. It'll try to run down the stock. You just have to stay after it and keep watching until you're pretty confident that it's dry where it doesn't run out. I've got a little stick, just a holder, something to hold this thing up and keep it from having to lay it down. So all I'm going to do is just run my hand over it. It's hard to hold on to it with one hand and rub it with the other hand and not leave a thumbprint somewhere. So I'm trying to just leave it one last rub. 2 or 3 more coats of that. We're pretty much good to go.